Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another stream. Today we are going to be continuing with Vehicle Attachment 2.0, as I've dubbed it. Although I realise I have kind of broken tradition here. Historically, I have named the resources that I update with the suffix reborn, like fire alarms reborn. But not here, evidently. But anyway, that doesn't matter. So, where we left off last time was we had gone through the entire script, top to bottom, with the key exception of two rather large sections of code. The on control function and the attachment tick. These notes here are just some things that I thought of off stream that I'll go through in a minute. But just a refresher, this resource only has a client component to it at the moment, so only the one file we need to worry about at present. Okay, so what I wrote off screen. Basically, what I'm getting at here, I guess I'll read through each one. So, don't run attachment, movement, rotation in a tick, just movement on button press. So what I'm talking about here is, from memory, we haven't actually looked yet, but from memory, the way this resource works is it basically runs in a loop waiting for the button to be pressed before the attached vehicle is moved. So for example, if I press whatever button is numpad 4, to move my bike that I want to attach to my car to the left, it's checking for that continuously. And you might be thinking, if you're a 5M dev or you're familiar with how 5M works, oh, that's fine. That's how you need to do that check. Well, yes and no. Mostly no in this case, because our button presses are actually handled via commands. Here they are. I knew they were here somewhere. They're handled via key mapping, via commands. So the movement doesn't actually happen until the button is pressed. And when it is pressed, it actually fires off this command, and then we run a function. So the whole checking in a loop thing is really kind of redundant at that point. It's probably not all that intensive, because we're not actually doing anything in that loop. But still just sort of unnecessary. So that's what I'm talking about there. Next up, reduce the amount of logic sitting in the ticks. If it doesn't need to be in the loop, move it somewhere else. Pretty much an extension of the previous point. A big chunk of this script, as you can see here, from line 350 all the way to line 600, so a good, 250-ish lines of code, which make up the tick component. It's quite large. probably mostly doesn't need to be there. Some of it will need to be there because raycasts are being run, and those in this particular case do need to be run in a tick. But we'll see if we can't move some of that stuff out of there, make it more event driven rather than tick or loop driven. Consider using the server to set state bank data instead of the client, saves having to request ownership. So the conundrum here is that entity ownership sucks. To put it really simply, 5M entity ownership sucks. And that's not like some wild dig at the 5M devs. That's just the way that the GTA netcode is written and the OneSync stuff is written. Ownership inherently bounces around. And there's a certain amount of sense to that, right? If I spawn a car and then I go to the other side of the map and I leave the car where it was and another player comes along, I can't own that car. That's just not how the game engine works. Someone else will need to own that car. So ownership is just a bit difficult. The reason it's important here is because when we're talking about entities being attached to other entities, the person doing the attaching needs to own all the entities involved. So for example, if I'm attaching a bike to a car, my player pet, or rather not my player pet, my player in the FX server needs to be the owner of both the bike and the car. And it's also relevant because of the way state bags work. State bags are owner and server set, player read, which means if you own the entity, you can add a state bag. If you do not own the entity, you cannot add a state bag. And I suspect over the years, having seen some of the frustrations and the bugs that have come out of this resource, that's probably one of the biggest things that's gone wrong, is there's not been proper entity ownership checks going on. And the script is proceeding when really it shouldn't be. It should either be failing softly, throwing errors, or better yet, just handling the ownership better so that it doesn't become a problem. And that's what I'm talking about there. So regardless of who owns, in our hypothetical, regardless who owns the car, who owns the bike, whatever, the server can always set state bank data, regardless. The server is God in this context. It can do whatever it wants. So I may not add a server component to this resource to handle that entity stuff. We'll see. We'll see how we go. And finally, can we generate the key map hashing stuff at runtime? What I'm talking about there is... I put it in this list, didn't I? Did I? I'm having a brain fart now. Where'd I put it? Here it is. This stuff here, this input underscore and then a random string. What this is this command hashed becomes this. And if I use this in the help text, which is the thing that pops up in the top left of your screen, it'll show the correct mapping. So in this instance, numpad 8, when I put this string into the helper text, this is converted to the little icon for numpad 8, which is good. That's handy. Problem is that this has been generated through a tool online. This has been converted to this. It's a one-way hash. We'll see if we can't do this at runtime, and what that would allow us to do is to move this into a configuration variable so that the server owner or the developer can change it to be whatever they want. Because right now this is hard-coded, because if the server owner was to change this value, this would no longer be mapped to anything and you would just get a wall of errors, which is no fun. So that's kind of low on the priority list and requires a bit of research. I might even do that off stream, but it's there just to keep in mind. Okay, so let's get back to what we were doing, which was looking at onControl and the attachment tick. I think we'll look at the tick first, just because logically, if I was to follow the flow of an attachment and actually do it in game, the tick would run before the on command or the on control. So let's have a look. Handles vehicle selection, attaching, detaching, and cancelling. Immediately, that frustrates me because it's doing so much. You know, it can probably be broken up into smaller components. But anyway, let's have a look. So immediately, we're going straight into a switch statement, which is switch for attachment stage, and the various attachment stages are none, tow truck, vehicle to be towed, position, drive on, detach, cancel. Okay, so selecting a tow truck. Oof, wow, okay, holy crap. If, else if, else if, else if, else, if. Whew, okay. Last stream we talked a lot about nesting. This isn't too bad, because it's mostly in one layer, but yeah. We could definitely improve that, but let's have a look. So, vehicle tow truck, find vehicle. We looked at this last time. It just runs the raycast, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Okay, so it runs a raycast directly in front of the player. If the tow truck is null, no vehicle found. If it's already being used, someone else is using this tow truck. Yep. Else if, well, that's a multi-line if, not a fan of that. Blacklist, oh yeah, so this whole thing needs to change, but we made comments about that. Yes we did, so we'll leave that as it is for now. Okay, it's so confusing even just to look at. If not, blacklist to whitelist. So if it's a whitelist, and the attachment blacklist contains a model, or if it is a blacklist, and it's not in the attachment blacklist, tow truck cannot be used as a tow truck. God, that pains me. But anyway, moving on. If maximum number of attached vehicles is more than 0 and get towed vehicles count is more than or equal to max attachment. Okay, alright, so this doesn't really need to be here. This should be run one time when the script is started. Checking it every single attachment is kind of redundant. So let's move this up here. I believe I even made a comment. Yeah, add sanity checks for config values as needed. Well, this is one such sanity check. If config max number of attached vehicles is more than 0. So let's fix this up a little bit. Actually, I was going to check if it's less than 0, but that's not probably correct, because if you set it to like -1, that probably means you want it disabled. Okay, let's do this instead. Let's do a general variable for internal read-only bool, meaning it can only be changed within the constructor. We'll say max attachment enabled. Invalid token. Oh, I didn't make it bool. There we go. I was really confused there for a sec. Alright, so if it's more than 0, in fact, we can simplify that even further. Match attachment is enabled if the max number of attached vehicles is more than 0. Boom. Done. Now we can come down here and we can do this. If max attachments enabled, then if the get towed vehicles .count is more than the max number of attached vehicles, cannot tow any more vehicles. Okay, cool. Get towed vehicles. Okay, so this just reads the state bag. I'm poking at this because I'm not a huge fan of the fact that it gathers all of that information and then just throws a count on the top, but there's not really a cleaner implementation because because it's a state bag, you've got to get all that data anyway, and you've got to serialize it to put it into something that C# can understand, and at that point, the damage is done. So we'll leave that alone for now. All right. If else, if else, if else, if else, else. So this, and this is almost confusing because like an else is normally, well not normally, but an else in my mind is like some non-normal condition has been met. But the else here is actually the norm. You want to reach this condition. So let's do this. We'll say, what does this return? It just returns a hit entity. Does it ever check? It does check if the entity exists. Okay, fair enough. So what we'll do is, if tow truck is null, return. If is already being used, return. If abomination of an if statement, return. If max attachment, blah 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 blah, return. Now we can move this out of the else statement, pop it in there. Great. If config enable line, world.draw line, game.play per position, truck position, system drawing, color, ARGB. Whoever wrote this draw line position, I'm sorry, I really don't like you. The fact that you make me import system.drawing.color just to make one reference to one function instead of just letting me pass a, 3 ints for red, green, and blue, or 4 red, green, blue, alpha. It's just so annoying. But anyway, moving on. So what that is doing is it's literally drawing a line in the world between the player ped and the vehicle that we are looking at, just so you know what vehicle you are currently targeting. Handy if you've got multiple vehicles in and around. This might actually need some tweaking, this whole find vehicle thing, because I do recall there being some feedback that it was at times difficult to decipher what vehicle you were trying to target, but that may become more obvious as we do some playtesting ourselves, so we'll set that one aside for now. Alright, input accept to use the tow truck as the towing vehicle, if button pressed, okay, confirmed as towing vehicle, temp tow vehicle, okay, alright. Again, I do want to, item number one on our to-do list was to, no, that's a different to-do list. This to-do list is don't run stuff in a tick, but we'll come back to that. We'll just read through it for now and see how we go. So that was selecting a tow vehicle. Next up is selecting a vehicle to be towed. Vehicle to be towed, find vehicle. Probably very much, oh, it's literally the same function. I was going to say it's very much like the other function. It is, because it is the same function. Oh, jeez. Oh, my goodness gracious. Else, if, while, if, else, if, else. It's just... This is a great example of it. You can see just all of the dead space on the screen. All of this space wasted. Functionality-wise, does it make any difference? Not in this instance. No, it can do, but not here. But there are better ways. There are better ways. Alright. I think another problem as well is, if we go back to here for a minute, if we return here, it's not actually delaying the execution of the tick. You always have to await delay 0 or await task from result 0 when you do a tick, or else it crashes. Just like in Lua, if you don't put your, when you create your citizen thread, or whatever it is, thread, create a citizen. No, I think it was right the first time, citizen create thread. And then you don't put your await 0. Same thing here, we crash. So I might, it's kind of blasphemy, but I'll put it right at the top. Oh, can I, will that interrupt with, will that interrupt with controls? I'm not sure. Let's just do it for now. And then I can say to do remove if affecting control inputs. Alright. to what we were doing. Vehicle to be towed, yep, find vehicle. So we'll just do the same thing. If not exists, temp tow vehicle deleted. Okay. Oh, does that return game.play sound? It says it returns a void, but I feel like that returns a sound ID that we actually need to handle and to look after. Let's find out. Let's find out. Play sound. Okay, I was half right. It does return a sound ID, but it also releases it internally within the function, so all good. Problem solved. Okay. Yep, so that's fine. If it's already being used. I feel like that logically makes more sense to be above. No, actually, let's leave that there and instead move this up to the top. There's no point finding a vehicle at all if our temp tow vehicle doesn't exist. Again, still not sure why I prefixed it with temp. Maybe because it wasn't stored yet? I'm not sure. Maybe that'll become more obvious as I proceed. Alright. If it's already being used, yeah, cool, fair enough. This is our blacklist, whitelist nonsense. Alright, if vehicle to be towed, occupant length is more than 0, the vehicle is occupied. Yep, fair enough. If entity exists, tow vehicle, temp tow vehicle. So that is redundant because we've already done a check up here. So that can go. If vehicle to be towed position.distance to squared is more than max distance. Okay, so this is what I was talking about back in the previous stream about using squared root. I'm going to change that right now to units, game units, so 10 in-game units. And we'll update this from... Is that an extension? No. No, it's not. Calculate the distance between two vectors. I think I'm just going to use the world function here, world.getDistance. There we go. Yep, cool. Origin, destination. Grand. So, if the distance between the vehicle being towed and the temp vehicle is more than the maximum distance, then is too far away. Okay. Cool. Now we can get rid of this giant mess. Assuming I don't deselect the text I was trying to select. There we go. There's that draw line stuff again. That's, is that a different color? 255, is that alpha? Yeah, okay, so red, green, this one's green. What was the other one? Green as well. Alright, let's turn that into a function. There's no point writing multiple lines of code all over again. Internal void draw line. There we go. Say vector 3, origin, vector 3, target. Ah, no. It's like, hold on a minute. That's not correct. Target. Origin. There we go. Okay, now we can replace that here. Draw a line. Game.playerped.position, and the destination was the tow truck .position. There we go. Copy that. We'll just minimize that whole section. Come back down here, and in this case, it was the vehicle to be towed .position. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh wow, all that logic sits within that. Let's fix that. Nesting for the sake of nesting. So we'll just inverse this if the control isn't pressed. Set vehicle is being used. So funnily enough, this is obviously a misunderstanding on my behalf from when I originally wrote the script, because I'm clearly trying to set a state bag value here before I request ownership of the vehicle. And this is what I was talking about back at the beginning of the stream about bugs being reported with regard to the script looks like it's working, like it should be working. You're moving through the prompts and it sounds and looks like it should be functioning, but nothing actually happens. Nothing attaches, nothing detaches, etc. And that'll be because of stuff like this. It's saying, yeah, no worries, we'll make it work. And then it's going to do it, and then it might fail, but by then it's too late. So this is definitely going to need some work. Request ownership of vehicle, blah, blah, blah. If not... Okay, it does error out, thankfully, but that doesn't need to be nested. That's unnecessary. Ooh. Yeah, well, this can definitely move down here, because that's not happening unless we do actually have ownership of the vehicle. I was humming and hawing because I was like, do I need ownership at this point? Yes, I do. Because one, I'm setting a state bag, and two, I'm about to do some attachment stuff. So we do need ownership. Although, actually, come to think of it, I recall there being a new native with regards to attachment. I just don't recall what it is. Attach. Here we go. OneSync enable remote attachment sanitization. Whether or not to enable sanitization toggles a check that prevents attaching entities to remotely owned PEDs. This is disabled by default. Okay, well, this is talking about PEDs, and we don't care about PEDs, so never mind. Not important for our purposes. Alright, well, let's have a closer look. So, timeout is 4, request control of network ID. Okay, so we're requesting control before we even check if we have control. So, let's just fix that up quickly. If not, API has control of entity. Are we doing network? Yeah. I'm pretty sure this works just the same. You just pass in an entity handle instead of a network ID. I think it's probably much a muchness, but anyway. If not, network has control of vehicle to be towed. And actually, we're going to throw the handle in an int here, because we're going to call it multiple times, and there's no point re-executing that every single time. Vehicle to be towed, handle, vehicle to be towed dot handle. There we go. Alright, So, don't bother running any of this unless you don't have ownership, because if you have ownership, carry on. Alright, int timeout is 4, request control. We can, that's kind of, yeah, duplicated, it's fine. While not, network has control of entity. Use the handle, we'll move the timeout to the front as well. While timeout is more than 0 and not, API network has control of entity vehicle to be towed handle, timeout minus minus. That can be simplified by throwing the minus minus in the in front of the timeout there. It's basically saying take away 1 and return the value, as if I'd done that minus minus down below. And then we can change that to network request control of entity. Go await delay 250. Cool. We can replace that check again. If not, network has control of entity vehicle to be towed handle, play up that sound, send notification, write a debug line. I don't know if the debug line's entirely necessary there because you've kind of got the on-screen notification, but we'll keep it for now. And then dip out. That's fine. Alright, update the state bag, play a sound. This is where the variation is between the drive on and not drive on mode. Kind of added haphazardly after the initial release, but basically if you're in drive on mode, you are expected to drive the vehicle onto the position. So like if you lower a flatbed bed, for example, and then drive onto said flatbed and then confirm the position, versus the regular mode where it brings up the editor, the movement controls, the up, down, left, right, rotate, etc. So if it's in drive on mode, drive on to confirm, yeah, it's fine, it's persistent true. I don't know if that's necessary. That kind of used to be a thing, like way back in the day. You made all the entities persistent. I don't know if that matters in OneSync. Yeah, no, I don't think it matters in OneSync. She'll be right, surely. Add new tow vehicle, new tow vehicle network ID. Okay. Not a fan of just that, but we can fix that up pretty easily. Do we even need to store this? Probably not. We'll add a primary constructor. Int network ID equals network ID. And then this can just be there we go. That can be simplified even further. Cool. Add new towed vehicle, temp tow vehicle, vehicle to be towed, .network ID. Okay. Tow vehicle, towed vehicle. Yeah, a little bit confusing. Alright. And then if we're not using the tow on, if we're not using the drive on mode, we can read that later. If we're not using the drive on mode, config be towed, show tow controls, that's the on-screen text. Yep, that's fine. Opacity, persistence, doesn't matter. Position frozen true, collision enabled false. Cannot try to enter, that's, yeah, it's important. Attach, Yeah. Okay. Add new tow vehicle. So this is interesting. It adds the attachment, or rather it adds the vehicle as being attached, even though at this point it's not confirmed. Like, you still need to go through the motion of actually positioning the attachment, but we've stored it as if it was attached, and we've provided the attachment, position, and rotation, which I think comes back to my prior question of, do we even need to store this? Well, here, let's do this. Do we call attachment position anywhere? It's where it's got the offset stuff. Okay. Alright, well look, let's do it this way. Let's go up to our definitions. Let's make them static. And then inside our towed vehicle, let's give these default definitions of main dot default position, main dot default rotation. There we go. Now, that doesn't need to be like that, and in fact that can be simplified all the way down to just that. And then we can actually just move it up here, because it gets called twice anyway. There you go, bada bing, bada boom. Alright. Okay. This, I think, might need to be moved into a helper function. I feel like this gets called a couple more times, but we'll see. See how we go. Cancel current position. Just checking if these were also wrapped, and they are, so that's fine. If entity exists, alright, let's do this. If not, entity exists, and return. Cool. If not, entity exists, temp vehicle being towed, so that vehicle is being used, false. Attachment cancelled. I'm humming and hawing because I feel like perhaps if the temp tow vehicle doesn't exist, we should probably be clearing this out as well. In fact, I'm inclined to move this above, just in case. Oh, does that actually fix anything? Let's move this out before I forget. I think... look, I'm just going to throw a to-do for now. Merge both checks together. We'll come back to that. If too far away, I guess that means you're not allowed to cancel it if you're too far from the vehicle. Fair enough. We'll change that out for that world. Is it get distance? Well, good. World.get distance. There we go. Why is this a stage? Like, why is this not a command? This is kind of what I want to know. Yeah, this really needs to be a command. It's just like, it doesn't need, this comes exactly back up to what I was talking before. If it doesn't need to be in a loop, move it elsewhere. Nothing, wherever it is, nothing here needs to run more than one time. That is literally the definition of a loop. It loops, it iterates multiple times. None of this needs to be run more than once. This whole thing does not need to be in a loop. Anyway, reset towed vehicle. Set vehicle is being used. Set vehicle is being used. Remove tow vehicle. I feel like that's 3 different functions to do what could probably be one function. Show notification, cancel the tick, bada bing, bada boom. Okay, cool. What? 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 Oh, it's still like you can press controls when, yeah, okay, I have a lot of problems with that. But it does technically need to be called in a loop because it's a display text. Boy, that's, yeah. Alright, it can stay for now. Go faster, go slower. Yeah. That can probably be a control, like at that point it might as well. The other ones are. Like, so much of all of this does not need to be in a tick. So much of it can be extracted to functions. Alright, well, that's the attachment tick. That was certainly a trip down memory lane that I would rather not have done. Alright, on control, the final function. Immediately we're hit with some nesting, love it. If attachment stage does not equal position and attachment stage does not equal detach. If attachment stage does not equal drive on or attachment control. What the heck is, oh, attachment control. I see, okay. I think this is weirdly written like this because of the way it can accept input from both the drive on mode and the non-drive on mode, which I'm now regretting, but here we are. If attachment stage does not equal position and does not equal detach and does not equal drive on, how many? This would be better served by a switch statement so I can actually understand what the heck I'm talking about. So hold on, the options are none, tow truck, vehicle to be towed, position, drive on, detach, cancel. If it's not position and is not detach and is not drive on, position, detach, drive on, position, detach, drive on. What's left? Cancel, vehicle to be towed, none. That's so confusing. What am I doing here? I don't understand. Alright, well let's read the logic. It'll probably become abundantly clear once we start reading what the problem is. Tow vehicle equals get towed vehicles temp tow vehicle dot last. If temp tow vehicle dot position is more than can't attach, they're too far away. If the current vehicle is the vehicle being towed, leave the vehicle. Okay, sure. Don't know why, but sure. Vector 3 position. Vector 3 rotation. Temp tow vehicle get position offset. Temp vehicle being towed dot position. Is that a relative position? Yeah. No, that's a world position. Rotation. Temp vehicle being towed, lock status, cannot enter, attach. This looks like confirmation. This is like the final thing that happens. Update towed vehicle, set is being used, false, false, attachment, complete, drive safe. Yeah, okay, so this is confirmation. Oof. Okay. Updated tow vehicle. Alright, well. Looks like we need another constructor that accepts all 3 arguments. Actually, better yet, we'll just do public tow vehicle and just leave it blank. Can I do that? Is it gonna let me do that? A constructor declared in a type with parameter list must have a this constructor in this. Ah, fuck it, whatever. I don't care. We'll do another one. Yeah, that. Perfect. Nailed it. Perfect. Oh, that's right, because it like overrides. Do I actually need that in there? Maybe I do. Let's have a look. 1 overload, that's what we're after. Towed vehicle.network ID. Yes, that is functioning correctly. Position, rotation. Perfect. Yep, we can simplify that. Cool. Updated tow vehicle, blah, 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 blah. Okay, this, yeah. Yeah, that whole section is atrocious and will need to be revisited again, properly, later. Float change amount is change amount from the config, change amount plus or minus, go fast, go slow, otherwise it's 0, sure. Okay. Sure. if one or the other doesn't exist, go to our cancel phase, sure, why not? Why not? I think what I was going for with all of these cancel things is I was doing like a poor man's function call, like avoiding having to write the same code over and over again, which is good, but then I've done it in a tick instead of just calling a function, which is the whole point of a function. So I've sort of gotten A for effort and C for implementation. Towed vehicle. Are you getting the same towed vehicle twice? Get towed vehicles, temp towed vehicle. You sure are. Alright, well that's completely unnecessary. Just do it once at the top. Failing at selecting text. Position rotation. You're having an aneurysm because it's declared twice? Where is the next time it's declared? Ah. Yeah. Ah, for now. We'll just fix this one. Final. position. Final rotation. Boom, problem solved. Vector 3 position rotation. Cool. Wow, this sucks so much. At least it's a switch statement and not an if-else chain, but it's not much better. Set vehicle is being used, set vehicle is being used. If attachment state is position, attachment complete, drive safe. Detach, blah blah blah. Okay. I used a return. Fantastic. One return in the whole file. Love it. If it's too far away, I feel like we've done that check several times now. What to get distance? Yeah. Let's turn that into a function. I've definitely called that like 3 times. Make it an internal bool. Check distance between vehicles. Yeah, I guess we'll do it that way. Vehicle 1, vehicle 2. Which one was that? Vehicle 2 be towed. Oops. It's too far away from vehicle 2. Okay. We can do if... Oh, I hate it when it does that. If not that, where vehicle 1 in this instance is the vehicle to be towed, and vehicle 2 in this instance is the underscore temp tow vehicle. We don't need to add a notification there or anything because it is done for us. How handy. And again, instead in this instance it's that. Ah, crap, it's this one isn't between vehicles, this one is between a vehicle and a player, but that's okay because this next one was definitely between 2 vehicles. Yeah. If not get distance, wasn't it? Get distance? Oh, check distance. Yeah, check distance. Underscore temp tow vehicle underscore. Wow, what? Ah, crap. No, this one isn't between vehicles either. This one's between vehicles and an offset position. Never mind. Back we go. Disregard. There we go. And that's what I get for not looking at the code before I try to change it. Alright. Okay. Oh, then we just need to pass in our new values. Network. No. Yes. Dot network position rotation. Cool. Yeah, that can all go. That can go. Okay. Wow. That was something. Yeah. Wow, that was something. Look, very enlightening. Definitely a lot of work to do in this space. Yeah, it's going to be a big job extracting all of that out. But we'll do that eventually. Just not today. We'll call it there for now. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. And yeah, join me next time when I evidently go through the 7th level of hell and have to refactor my own code. Dear. Alright. Thank you very much. I will see you next time. Goodbye.